Hey fans and subscribers, this is your host Joe on the Gaming for Insight channel with another video of the segment Which Handheld Plays It Better. This is where I take two handhelds to see which one is better at playing one of your favorite games. However, I do acknowledge that this may not be one of them. For this video, the channel selected Lord of the Rings Gollum to play on the ASUS ROG Ally and the Steam Deck. You are likely asking though, Joe, why did you pick this game? It's so bad. Well, I couldn't help but be curious to explore how bad it may be on a handheld. And if so, which one does any better with it? To briefly introduce this video, moving on, I played Lord of the Rings Gollum on these devices looking at frame rates with setting certain power limits. Ultimately, you decide which one is better. I will at least provide you some data and give my insights. So with that said, let me set this up for you. To give some consistency to the data from the tests, I set some parameters. You can see those at the bottom of the screen for the techies that are interested to know all the details. Some important ones, though, you should know are that I played Lord of the Rings Gollum on both devices with adjusted high settings, specifically disabling FidelityFX Super Resolution or FSR, though the resolution was different on each one for these tests. For the Ally, I played at 1920 by 1080, and on the Steam Deck, I played at 1280 by 800. No ray tracing was used, no FSR was used through the OS or another software as well as used in-game. The Steam Deck has a maximum thermal design power or TDP limit of 15 watt for its accelerated processing unit or APU, unlike the ROG Ally with a maximum APU TDP limit of 30 watt, which means I could not match the Steam Deck at higher than 15 watt to compare with the Ally. So let's talk about frame rates, because if you are watching this video, you want to know what frame rates you will get playing at a certain power limit. Looking at the 9 watt APU TDP limit on both handhelds, the Steam Deck was able to maintain a higher baseline than the ROG Ally. For me, playing at this APU TDP limit on the Steam Deck with a 16 to 24 baseline for frame rates was tolerable. However, the ROG Ally baseline of 9 to 11 for frame rates was not, and I could not tolerate it even for 30 minutes to try and reach the 1 hour I like to for these tests. Next, let's discuss the 15 watt APU TDP limit on both handhelds. The ROG Ally was able to reach high frame rates and has a higher baseline for frame rates, whereas the Steam Deck had a lower baseline for its frame rates. The test results show that the Ally was able to maintain as a baseline 26 to 38 frames, though during idle periods, the frame rate would go into the 40s. The Steam Deck was not able to do that based on the results. Its baseline frame rate at the same APU TDP limit was 21 to 27, and at idle times, frame rates would enter into the 30s. The ROG Ally was able to maintain a higher baseline for frame rates, specifically 26 to 48 at this APU TDP limit, and the Steam Deck fell short with its baseline at 21 to 27. However, the expectation you should have when playing this game on the Steam Deck at the 15 watt is drops in the frame rate below the baseline before returning to it. Having the higher baseline on the Ally helped, but personally, it was not a night and day difference on improvement over the Steam Deck. Moving forward to the 25 watt and 30 watt APU TDP limits on the ROG Ally, there was no difference here. No gains in frame rate specifically. Overall, compared to other games, there was noticeable inconsistency across levels with frame rates. Some were closer to the lower ends of the baseline with frequent drops, and others were higher to the baseline with not as many drops below it. Some even at the higher APU TDP limits on the Ally had periods where frame rates coasted 40 plus. The inconsistency with minimum and maximum frame rates is explained by me playing different parts of the game with these different APU TDP limits. One potential counter argument here, and I acknowledge this, is that different parts of the game will have different baselines. Possibly. However, the testing done across different APU TDP limits were done in different parts of the game. Importantly, this noted inconsistency across these tests is explained, I reason, based on other games I have played, to be the game and not the handheld. However, I am open-minded to different interpretations on this based on the results, so let me know in the comments. In conclusion, based on these results, whether on my Ally or Steam Deck, I would play this at the 15-watt APU TDP limit. You are not missing any greater experience with the turbo mode used on the ROG Ally based on the channel's testing at least. If I were to play this game while traveling, I would not be definitive as to pick one over the other and would make the decision based on other factors. So what do you think? Which handheld is better at playing Lord of the Rings Gollum? Are you playing it on the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, both, or is this game not even one you would reserve space for? Are you getting these same frame rates or different ones even, if you are playing this game on a handheld? All of this, even if you just completely dislike this game, let me know in the comments. I am interested to read what you have to say. Also, the channel is going in the direction to develop more of these videos, so this is just the start. This video on Lord of the Rings Gollum is the third one of the segment. Feel welcome to share what games you would like to see in these videos. Well, with that, let me leave you now with the words of Commander Shepard from Mass Effect. I should go.